Now that we have the user information in the store when the user logs in, let's select that information and then update our view. And we'll create a selector for that. If we look at the top right here, we see the logout link and the username link. And if we log out and log back in, that does not update correctly, and we'll fix that in this video. So I enter some information, and as you can see in the top right corner, it doesn't update correctly when the user is logged in. We want to see the logout link here and also the username. Let's open up our component and also our auth selector file. Let's look inside of our component first thing. Open up your auth module and the auth links. And we'll look at the HTML and the TS file. And this auth links component is what you're seeing up here in the top right. It's a bunch of links within a component. And they toggle off and on depending on the condition. Back in the HTML, here are 5 links. And I'm using a bunch of ngIf directives. And if the user is an admin, I show them this link. If the user is not an admin, but they're logged in, I show them this link. And then if the user is not logged in, they get these 2 links that you're seeing right now. And then if the user is logged in, they get the logout link. This user object I'm getting from the TS file, and that's right here. And how I'm populating that is by calling our service and just grabbing the entire user and populating this. Now we're going to change this. We're not going to use our service anymore. Now that we have our user within the store, I'm just going to comment that out, or we'll remove that soon. And then this user, we're going to be doing this totally different as well. I'm going to comment this out. Back in the template, we actually don't need this entire user object. We're going to be very selective on what we're selecting from the store. The user object could be very big. If you're dealing with real applications, the user object can have 50 different properties in it. In our case, it only has 4 properties, but it's kind of overkill grabbing the entire user object every time we want to update our little auth link component. What I like to do, and this has nothing to do with NGRX, is I like to create an object here like this, and then I like to go through all the HTML seeing what I need for the template. So this is going to be my view model object. So what do we actually need for this template? In this case, we need to know if the user is the admin or not. And I'll create a property here. I'm going to remove this in a second. I'll just call it admin. I might change the property names also. And this is a Boolean. I need a yes or no answer. Is the user a admin? Also, what we need to know for this template is the user logged in or not? So I'll have is logged in. Again, that's a yes or no answer, Boolean. And that's all we need for this template. So I'm going to create an object. I'll call it view model or something like that. And its sole job is to give this template all the information it needs. Let's set up this interface inside of our selector. Inside of the auth selector, inside the selectors folder, open this up. And the first thing we'll add in here is the interface. I'll just paste it in. And whenever our selector is called, we'll return this object. You could add this interface within a separate file, but since it pertains to this document, I'll just add it within this document. Now we're ready to create our selector. To save some time, I'll paste it. And I called our new selector select auth links view model. The job of this selector is to return our view model object every time we need it. And I'm using the create selector. And then the first parameter is the select auth state. This is the feature inside of our store, the auth feature. We're grabbing the entire feature, passing it in here. And then the last parameter is always just a plain function. I used to think there was something more to this, but there isn't. It's just a function. So anything you could do with a function, you could do right here. In this case, we're passing in the feature, the state, and then I'm being very descriptive here. I'm saying, hey, return this object every time this selector is called. So we're returning an object with 2 properties in it. How I'm getting the isAdmin is from within the user. There's a property called isAdmin. That's how I'm grabbing that. Then here I'm doing something a little different. I'm not actually grabbing anything from the store. I'm actually comparing something we currently have in the store. In this example, I'm checking to see if there's a user ID, and if it's not, equal null. If it's not equal null, this is true. And that is our basic selector. Now there's different ways we could do this. Like for example, we could create a selector for just this, for example. Let's say you want to find out if the user is logged in and you just want a selector for that, well, we could create that and pass it in here as well. So let's create another selector. The job of this selector is to return us true or false. Is the user logged in or not? I'll add that selector right here. And this selector is called select is logged in. And the sole job of this selector is to return us a Boolean. True or false, is the user logged in? And what's amazing about these selectors is you could pass selectors into other selectors. For example, we could copy this now and pass it into here. And I'll add it on towards the end here. And don't forget the comma. And then you just got to make sure you pass it into your function, and then you could use it within your function. So I'm going to add that onto the end within our parameters here. And it's going to be a Boolean that I'm expecting from that. And then instead of doing this every time, we could just use our new property. Copy this and replace this. And what's nice about this is now if we ever want to find out real quickly if the user's logged in or not, we could just call our selector that we have set up. So we could use it that way, and also we could pass it into other selectors as well. Now that we created our selector, we could save this. And now let's refactor our auth links component. Open up the auth links component, and we'll replace this right here now with our view model. We'll call our new variable VM for short, view model. And I'll add a $sign letting us know that this is an observable, and it's going to be the type of the interface that we created right here. Just copy this, and we'll add that here. And I'll bring this in from our selector file. And that's our variable. Now we need to set this, and we'll set this from within our ng on it. But before we do that, we need to bring in our store so we could use our selector. So I'll bring in the store towards the end here. And that's going to be store, and the type is app state. Now that we're bringing in the store, now we can call our selector. And I'll do that right below here. We'll remove that commented out section soon. And we want to set our new variable, the VM, to whatever we're getting back from our selector. And I'll call the store. And this time we're going to be using the pipe instead of the dispatch. And then NGRX gives us this operator. It's called select. And we need to bring that in from NGRX store. And inside here is where we're going to put our selector. I'm going to copy this since it's so long. I'll copy that. Add that right here. Bring it in from our selector file. And now when we call our selector like this, we should get back this object every time. Before we set up our HTML, let's clean this up now. We are not going to need this anymore. And this. And then up here, we can clean this up, remove the user, and also get rid of this. I don't know why that's there. Let's replace this. I called it from auth selectors, and I'll just copy this and make sure we add that to the beginning here now. And also here. That's a cleaner way of doing it. Now we can save the file, and we are done inside the TS file. Now we need to set it up within the HTML. Inside the HTML, inside of the div container, we'll add in a ngIf directive. And now we're automatically subscribing to our new view model. And now we'll have access to this variable. Let's change over all of these now. And now we just updated our HTML. And what's really nice about this view model now, whenever you want to add anything onto it, it's very easy to go into the selector and just add it onto your interface and also your selector. Now that our HTML is done, let's save this and check it out in the browser. When we successfully log in, our links up here should automatically update. Let's try it out. Okay, so our selector is doing its job. It's returning the properties we need, and it's automatically updating the view. That is working great. We'll have to create one more selector, and we'll do that in the next couple of videos, and that will allow us to see the shopping cart when the user is logged in. And also, if the user is logged in as admin, we want to see the admin drop-down link. And we'll set that up in the next couple of videos. Next, what we need to do is get the logout button working. When we click on the logout button right now, it's not updating correctly. We need to create a few actions for that. And also we'll need to update our reducer. Let's take care of that in the next video.